Ayo, before we get into the video, we just hit 2,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. I never thought 2,000 people would give enough of a to want to watch my shit and actually hit that red button, but you did. And as my way of saying thank you, I'll be doing a little giveaway. I'll give 2 people $100.
Wow.
All you have to do to enter is subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment the thing that you'll see pop up on screen at a random point in this video. I won't tell you what it is. It's an emoji. Comment that down below. And if you want to fuck up the competition, comment a bunch of random emojis along with the one that's the real one, just to confuse people so they don't just copy whatever you put. So just do those 3 things and I'll pick a winner. Probably not in the next video because that'll be a Kengan Ashura fight ranking video where I just rank all of the fights after the next season comes out from best to worst. Stay tuned for that. But probably the video after that, which should be a Tokyo Revengers recap before the next season comes out, I will announce the winner. And yeah, that's just my way of saying thank you. I know it's not much, but I ain't too rich. I just thought I'd give something back because you guys gave me your time. I thought you deserved a little something too. Thank you once again. That's enough for me. Let's get into the video. Keep an eye out for that emoji. In a back alley in Shinjuku City, tepid businessman Kazuo Yamashita stumbles upon a fight between 2 men of unequal stature. Yet the smaller man makes short work of the giant, much to Yamashita's surprise, and the 56-year-old is so impressed that he asks the fighter for his name, Ohma Tokita.
And he buys a hooker that night for some reason.
When he returns to his job at Nogi Publications, Yamashita quickly goes from bowing his head and licking the boots of his manager to being unexpectedly summoned by the chairman, Hideki Nogi. The chairman proceeds to reveal the existence of the Kengan Association, where merchants have resolved conflicts for centuries by hiring fighters and having them duke it out. Nogi Group has a fight coming up in a few days, though their fighter unexpectedly dropped out. But lucky for them, another fighter offered himself up in his place. That's when Ohma appears next to Yamashita, who is assigned to take care of anything the fighter needs. Don't ask me why he picked him. Let me explain just how unremarkable this man is on a surface level. Kazuo Yamashita, a man of 56 years with a mortgage and 2 sons, one of which he hasn't seen in 3 years, and the other which dropped out of high school and steals his money. Oh yeah, and his wife left him. On his first visit to Ohma's place, he finds him living his best hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and after Ohma easily deals with an intruder who tries to incapacitate him before his match, the man who accompanied him, Lihito, introduces himself as his first Kengan match opponent. Then the day of the Kengan match arrives, with the construction rights to a skyscraper on the line. In the pouring rain, Ohma seems to take the upper hand, until Lihito reveals his unique trait, razor-sharp fingers, though Ohma negates his razor's edge by going in close and controlling the flow of Lihito's power, then caves his face in to claim victory in his first Kengan match. The next Kengan match takes place between Gandai and Nogi Group, with Ohma facing off against pro wrestling champion Jun Sekibayashi. Being an entertainer, Jun takes the brunt of all of Ohma's attacks with pride, and proceeds to make him his plaything in front of the crowd. Before it seems like he'll be snapped in two, Ohma awakens some demonic power within himself, and levels the playing field. Then he counters the wrestler's rush by targeting his windpipe, and the jolly giant goes unconscious, giving Ohma his second victory. Once the match concludes, Kengan Association Chairman Metsudo Katahara arrives to confirm Chairman Nogi's right to challenge his position as chairman. And so, he announces the opening of the Kengan Life or Death tournament, with the victor securing their employer the right to designate the 59th chairman of the Kengan Association. Later, Ohma is more than displeased when he is told by Chairman Nogi that he will not be representing his company at the tournament. After he gets into it with Nogi Group's designated fighter Sen Hatsumi, he is calmed down when afforded another opportunity to enter the tournament. Yamashita is then pressured into accepting 100 million yen to enter an unofficial Kengan tournament, where the victor will have the right to enter the main event. Ohma easily wins the membership certificate to the Kengan Association, and somebody seems to be recording the ordeal, with Yamashita's son watching on the other end. Kenzo Yamashita is president of Undermount Inc. and enters the Kengan tournament from the shadows, having the mercenary Kure family send their best fighter to represent the company. When training in an abandoned mine, Ohma is visited by Koho Academy's designated Kengan fighter, Setsuna Kiryu, the disciple of the man who killed his master 10 years ago. He seems to have some sort of hard-on for our protagonist, as Ohma vows to crush him at the tournament. Oh boy, it's Hisoka's voice actor too. Nice touch. So, the day of the tournament arrives, and Ohma is part of the group who must fight in a free-for-all to win one of the final 5 spots. Ohma uses his Nico style to wipe the floor with the competition. Then the 5 remaining fighters make their way to the— Wait, somebody's talking Gaza. Then the remaining 4 fighters make their way to the luxury ship with the other 28 for some downtime.
Why was it an uneven number in the first place?
Lee Hito is one of the 4 to make it through, as he was also conned by Nogi into owning his own business and taking on the 5 billion yen entry fee loan from him, just like Yamashita. If he or Yamashita win the tournament, by way of the contract they signed, they must designate Hideki Nogi as next chairman to wipe their debt, a strategy many of the conglomerate heads have employed to increase their chances of becoming the next chairman. Chairman Katahara then announces that when the ship reaches the battlefield in 27 hours, the Kengan fighters will be registered for the tournament, and that fighting between them is strictly prohibited on the ship.
He didn't say anything about a non-fighter challenging somebody, though.
And that is exactly what happens, as many Kengan fighters are challenged for their spot en route to the battlefield. One such challenger is Suekichi Kaneda, who beats Ryo Himuro to take the spot of Ginokuniya Bookshop's designated fighter, the company of Yamashita's new friend, Ken Oya. A few others have their spots usurped by challengers, where others manage to hold their own, with Ohma also getting challenged. Excuse me? Okay, so the granddaughter of the Kure family, who is still in high school, likes Ohma. Good call running away, dude. Good to know our protagonist isn't a pedophile. Though her grandpa still wants to kill you. The ship finally arrives at Ganryu Island, where the draw for the tournament takes place. The draw is completed, and everyone's matchups are decided, as the day of the tournament arrives, and thousands of spectators, both famous and unknown, flock to the arena. The first fight takes place between the grappling king Imai Cosmo and hockey goon Adam Dudley, with the former using his jiu-jitsu skills to overwhelm him at first, before the American's pure power causes some serious damage. Though the grapple king manages to enter his zone and choke him unconscious, before the Westerner even knows what happened. In the second fight, Nepal tribe warrior turned video game addict Haruo Kono squares off against justice crazed cop Seishu Akoya. The 315-kilogram giant proves himself to be surprisingly agile, but when Akoya's employer Shunka Hiyama of Wakasa Insurance finishes her analyzing, she relays the information to her fighter, who is able to withstand Haruo's sudden change in fighting spirit to knock him out.
Ayo, what is this toxic-ass relationship?
In the third match, the Kure family's craziest fighter Raian stands against Mokichi Robinson, who incorporates many fighting techniques into his inherited Baritsu style to seemingly defeat his opponent. Though when Raian uses his family's secret technique removal, he unlocks 100% of his strength and becomes a violent monster who only cares about one thing: killing, as he snaps his opponent's neck. Our very own Ohma Tokita then gears up for his first fight against the petite assassin, Ryo Inaba, whose unique spider hair technique causes problems for the Ashura. Though once he activates his special demonic power, the fight quickly turns one-sided, and he easily defeats the assassin.
Kiryu literally has a boner.
With the victory, Yamashita wins the bet he accidentally made with Inaba's employer, Sukizo Urita from Panasonic Corporation, for a 10% stake in the company, which should help ease the financial burden he's taken on from Hideki. Oh, okay. Next up is the 306-win fighter Takeshi Wakatsuki, against who gives a fuck because he beats him in one blow. Next, the fruity Kezaburo Sawada contends with Toyo Electric Power Company's German monstrosity Julius Reinhold. Reinhold wins?
Ah, so they threatened Sawada's employer to forfeit the fight. Gotcha.
Well, we get to see what would have happened if the two fought, and suffice to say, the result would have been the same. The seventh fight sees the African mercenary Muteba Gizenga against another Toyo fighter, Masaki Meguro. Masaki's style is more psycho killer than even Ryan's, as he gouges out Gizenga's eyes, but it has no effect, considering the mercenary was already blind. Then, using his other senses, the genocider does Masaki one better, and gouges past his eye into his brain, killing the freak on the spot.
If you care to know, this is the first death of the tournament because Mokichi Robinson was somehow brought back to life.
In the eighth battle, Jun Sekibayashi makes his first appearance of the tournament, against a man of similar size, sumo wrestler Takeru Kiyozan. The pro wrestler pisses off the sumo wrestler with his no defense style enough that he starts kicking the shit out of him. But Sekibayashi is able to withstand his onslaught and turns his opponent's strongest move against him, resulting in victory for the pro wrestler.
Then Haruo is inspired and becomes Sekibayashi's pupil.
During some image training, Ohma is confronted by his deceased master, Nico Tokita, but his inferior skill with the Nico style forces him to use his advanced technique. Nico tells him that the advance will kill him if he overuses it, and to trust in his Nico style. But Ohma resents that advice, being that he was killed using that very style of fighting.
I don't know, my guy. You're sure bleeding a lot.
Moving on, Day 2 of the Kengan Life or Death tournament begins, as the boisterous Saw Peng Yoroizuka stands against Japan's strongest fisherman, Yoshinari Karo. Karo was instructed to purposely lose the match as his employer has a deal with the Toyo Electric Power Company, but he chooses to fight to win, though his match ends in defeat nonetheless. In the next fight, a Mickey Mouse ripoff loses in an instant to the lightning-fast Rei Mikazuchi, who quickly gets back to the bosom of his employer. Then, another pawn of Toyo Company, Ren Nikaido, comes face to face with Setsuna Kiryu, whose Koei style wrecks the Taiwanese's body beyond repair. Lee Hito then faces off against legendary assassin Genzai Kuroki, who makes a fool of the young fighter calling himself the superhuman. And Sen Hatsumi does the same with his opponent Takayuki Chiba, whose style of fighting is to copy other fighters' techniques.
Damn. Chairman Nogi is pretty badass here, not gonna lie.
In the 14th match, the doctor of the tournament, Hajime Hanafusa, hopes to dissect his opponent, serial killer Yohei Bando. Hanafusa is actually an agent sent by the Japanese government to execute Bando's 25-year overdue death sentence. Both the fighters have abnormal bodies, but the serial killer is the freak who comes out on top as he kills the doctor. God damn it, does anyone stay dead in this thing? Yeah, this guy does. Who gives a fuck? Bando wins, but he got infected with a virus during the fight, and so his long-awaited execution is finally complete. In the penultimate match, Ken and Yamashita share a drink as they watch the frail but persistent Kaneda take on the Thai god of war, Gaolan Wangsawat. Kaneda impresses Gaolan enough that he agrees to fight with his full power, though 10 moves later, the match is decided. In the final match of round 1, MMA fighter Naoya Okubo faces off against crowd favorite and Chairman Katahara's representative, Agito Kano, also known as the Fang of Metsudo. The fight quickly turns into a UFC cage fight on steroids.
Though those fighters are already on steroids.
But after the Fang adapts to his moves, he knocks him out with one blow. As the Fang leaves the arena, he is confronted by Wakatsuki, who he had beaten years back, and acknowledges his improvement. Though when Ohma tries to prove himself the strongest, despite his master's voice telling him he is still too weak, he gets himself knocked out with a single kick. The second round of fights is now ready to get underway, and the first match pits Cosmo against Akuya. Cosmo opts for a more passive approach, which baffles everyone watching, but it was all part of his plan to execute his own technique, which narrowly fails thanks to Akuya's employer feeding him tactics. Though when Cosmo's employer puts a stop to the communications, the cop gets even more violent, as his penchant for murder overcomes him, striking fear into Cosmo. After enduring the cop's needless torture, something changes in Cosmo, and his insatiable will to win enables him to endure the fatal injuries he's taken and choke out the justice-crazed cop. Then, before Ohma's match against Raian takes place, he and Yamashita are visited by him and his grandfather, Erio Kure. Erio tells Yamashita of his son Kenzo's position as president of Undermount Inc., and how he's hired the Kure family to represent them at the tournament. But the old man is furious with him for trying to control the family, and so he makes a promise to Yamashita. If Ohma beats Raian, he will spare his eldest son's life.
One of his granddaughters has literally had her scope on his window for days.
Backstory time.
Kenzo was a smart and kind boy growing up, but when his experiments got a little too mad scientist-y for Yamashita, he shut himself away from the family, and Kazuha did nothing to remedy the situation, causing his wife to leave him. Nonetheless, he still loves his son, and Ohma fights with this in mind, but his Nico style yet again proves ineffective to get the job done. Thus, he uses the advance, and Raian responds with removal, as the fight turns into something out of Dragon Ball Z. Yamashita learns from the doctor of the risks that come along with Ohma's technique. Though even with his increased power, he is unable to beat Raian. But both Yamashita and his master's ghost spur him to get back up, and he uses his own version of the Nico style to overwhelm the exhausted Raian and beat him into the ground.
Kiryu isn't too happy that he beat him with Nico style.
After the fight, Kazuo Yamashita finally shows some backbone when he stands up to Ryokure, though the latter had already recalled the assassination order on Kenzo, who finally answers his father's call after years without communicating. Kengan Ashura Season 1, fully recapped. I'm gonna keep this outro short because the intro was too long. Number 1, I hope you saw that emoji. Number 2, stay tuned for that Kengan Ashura fight ranking video. Should be out within the next week or so. Thank you again so much, all of you, for 2,000 subscribers. I wish I could pick 2,000 winners for this giveaway, but I ain't that rich. Next stop, 3,000. Let's get it. I love you all. Take it easy, and peace.